All right, so Jose Aldo Jr. has called time on a legendary MMA career spanning nearly 20 years. Let's talk about it before we do. My name's Rahul J. Chan. This is The Battle Camp. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. So look, man, Aldo is one of my favorite ever fighters. And if you follow the sport to any extent, I'd assume you hold this man in high regard. So I just wanted to spend some time talk about Aldo, why I think he's such a legend, and give the man the flowers he deserves, as they say. So before, obviously, kind of like when I heard the news actually about him retiring, I kind of just, you know, went down memory lane in my own head about Aldo. And the first kind of memory that came to mind right away is how I was introduced to Aldo. Right, because I wasn't introduced to Jose Aldo, a fighter. I was introduced to Jose Aldo, the idea. What I mean by that is I had no idea that Aldo existed. And we're going back to 2009, 2010, something like that. Might have been 2011, I don't know. But around that sort of time, right? And I remember listening to Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience describe Aldo and how much of a savage he is, and just how brutal he is, and how good his kickboxing is, and how good he is at kicking. And it's the soccer background. He's got this soccer background, so the way he kicks. And Joe Rogan has this uncanny ability to get me excited about a fighter without ever having seen him fight, right? And I was like, who is this guy? What is WEC? I'd never even heard of WEC. I didn't even know what is a WEC. I had no idea, right? So I went on YouTube and started kind of looking up his fights, and I saw him fight, and I thought to myself, bloody hell, as the doorbell goes off, I thought to myself, bloody hell, this guy's good. This guy's really good. And during that same kind of podcast with Joe Rogan's talking about Aldo, I remember him describing the way he was kicking Uriah Faber's legs, and how he messed up both of his legs because Faber had to change stances just because the front leg just totally got brutalized. So he had to switch stances. And I remember then going on YouTube and watching an interview that Uriah Faber did on crutches after that fight. And immediately I was excited about not just Aldo, but the fact that all of this whole roster of lightweight fighters existed, I had no idea about. Do you know what I mean? Because that was at the start of me becoming a fan of the sport. There used to be this other website, MMA-News or something like that, where they just used to upload every single fight that's ever existed. And that's where myself and a few of my friends that were into MMA at the time, that's where we used to watch a lot of the fights. So immediately after events, because obviously it was stupid o'clock here in the UK. And I don't even think at that time fights were aired live over here. I'd be on that site the next morning watching fights, right? And that's how I kind of found out what was going on, sort of thing. But I digress. The point I'm trying to make is, when I first came to find out about Aldo, it wasn't through his fighting. It was through Joe Rogan describing it. And then when I watched it for myself, I was just blown away. I just thought, this guy's, he's a monster. He's an animal, you know? And then obviously shortly after that, the WEC kind of merged into the UFC. And, you know, we were exposed to this whole kind of, just this list of talented fighters, and Aldo was always the forefront of the guys coming in from WEC. And like, I'm not going to go through all of his kind of career in the UFC, but he's provided so many legendary and fun moments, and it's like he's had a lot of ups and downs throughout his career in the UFC. I remember like when he first joined, and there was for me personally, so much excitement and anticipation to watch him fight live for the first time, because now it was a point where the UFC was being aired live on TV over here. And his initial kind of, his first couple of fights that he had from memory, it was almost as if the expectations superseded his performance, because we were expecting this guy just to come in and dominate and finish any competition in front of him. And that first fight in the UFC against Mark Hominick, and that was in Canada, when Hominick came out to I'm coming home, tell the world, and yeah, because he's a Canadian obviously. But Aldo started that fight, and he was just dominating Hominick. And by the fourth round, I think Aldo got a bit tired. By the fifth round, Hominick ended the fight, mounted on top of Aldo, grounding and pounding the shit out of him. And there was like cracks beginning to appear in this facade that was Jose Aldo, and just how good he is, and how kind of far removed he is from the rest of the roster, right? But after that fight against Hominick, and then after the fight against Kenny Florian, and I don't know this from memory, I'm looking at his Wikipedia page, I just remember like performance after performance after performance in the featherweight division, where he just showed that he's levels above everyone. Like he fought all of the top contenders. Frankie Edgar even came down from lightweight to fight him, and he got the shit kicked out of him by Aldo. And looking back at that now, I think Jose Aldo is one of the first kind of new gen fighters. And what I mean by that is, like, there was a period in MMA where everybody had a discipline that they're way stronger at compared to the rest of the arts, as it were, right? So you had guys that were really good wrestlers but shit stand up. You had guys that were really good kickboxers but couldn't grapple. You had Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys that couldn't wrestle, so they couldn't get their opponent to the ground to implement what the game plan is likely to be, right? But Aldo, to me, was one of the first guys that was good at everything, because he could wrestle enough so you couldn't take him down. Like, it was so difficult to take him down. If you managed to get him against the fence and kind of get him down, he could pop back up, no problem. So he could keep the fight on the feet, where he was by far a better kickboxer than everyone else in the division he was operating in. And if he did get to the ground, he was a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so he could mount an offense on the ground anyway. Do you know what I mean? And there wasn't many fighters in that era that could do that. And to add to all of this, in that time, because he's only in his early to mid 30s now. Let me see how old he is. He's 36 now, right? So back in 2010 or 2011, in that era, he was early 20s. So he was a lot younger than the guys that he was fighting anyway. Do you know what I mean? So he was really, like, he was regarded as one of the pound for pound best fighters in the world for a reason. And obviously there's been some moments that are less desirable, like the fight against Conor McGregor, the way he lost that fight. And I saw Ariel Helwani put out a tweet saying that the kind of, in his mind, the biggest achievement that Aldo's had is the way he came back from that devastating moment, and the way he still kind of had such high level performances after that setback, which is a fair point, and I understand that. But to me, I think, and this is just generally in sports, right? We kind of tend to judge how good or great someone is on the kind of, by looking at the entire career of fighter or sports person, right? And I don't think that's fair, because everybody has a peak, right? And at Jose Aldo's peak, there was nobody even close to how good he was. And the thing with Aldo's peak is, it wasn't just a year. Like, he was champion in WEC in 2010, was it? Let me consult Wikipedia. So he won the belt in 2009, and he lost it to Conor McGregor in 2015. So for 6 years, he was unquestionably the best featherweight on the planet. And it wasn't really a debate. So to have a peak to have the longevity at the top the way he did, and put in the performances to match the fact that he is the championship level performances, I suppose is a better way to say it. It just shows just how good this man is at fighting. And it's important to note, like, when someone comes along that is just different to everyone else, someone comes along and he changes the game and makes people do things differently just by how good he is. And that's what Jose Aldo did to the game. of mixed martial arts, in my humble opinion. The timing of the retirement is a little bit kind of surprising, because he's got one fight left in his deal, and it's a common fact that the UFC are going back to Brazil, to Rio, at the start of next year. So that would be a perfect opportunity to put a bow on this legendary career and say goodbye to the fans in the octagon. The fact that he's chosen not to do that, I don't know, it's one of two extremes. Either he's just deadly certain that he's done, he doesn't want to fight again, or it's an emotional decision off the back of the fight against Mirab that he lost, and that was that's a month ago, 20th of August it happened. And maybe it's just him kind of not him making a decision, not in a, I don't know, a stable mind state. Is that the right way of saying it? Do you know what I mean? Who knows, maybe in a couple of weeks he might reconsider it and think, you know what, I would like to get one more and say bye to my people in Brazil. But if it's the other extreme and he just knows that I don't want to do this anymore. He's recently had his third child was born recently as well. Maybe that's played into it, who knows. But whatever the motivation for the decision, it's his decision to make, and he's made it, right? And to me, he's one of the best that's ever done it, one of the most entertaining fighters in the world, and just a real legend of the sport. So thank you very much, Jose Aldo. Let me know what you guys think about the man. Put some of your favourite memories of Aldo in the comments below, and let's share some nice feelings and thoughts about a man that's done so much for the sport. If you've enjoyed this video, please do like. I was trying to think to myself, what do I usually say at the end of videos? Because I haven't done one for so long. I kind of forgot. I was like, how do you end this, Rahul? Like, I can't just say, all right, bye. What is it that you say? So look, if you've enjoyed the video, like it, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will definitely catch you on the next one. And it will be sooner rather than later, right? Because I haven't actually recorded myself in my studio in so long. It feels good to be back in the driving seat. Like, I've missed so much, man. Like, I've missed talking about like Nate Diaz against Ferguson and the drama that unfolded during fight week. There's so many things that have happened and I just haven't recorded. I've been abroad, I've been on holiday for a couple of weeks. So I feel like I'm back in the swing of things. So I will definitely keep up to date now, whether it's a video or if it's just me audio recording and uploading. The plan is 100% to be more active and get to 1,000. Like the goal at the start of the year was like to get to like 1,500 subscribers, and I fucked that up because I haven't put in enough work for it. I don't deserve it, but we can get to 1,000, right? So that's the plan. Let's get to 1,000 before the end of this year, and the next year, new year, new goals, man. Anyway, I'm gonna stop waffling. I'll talk to you guys later.